see our history with Abelard and Joe.
Avalon,
Oh,
Avalon.
yeah, no, sorry, I'm here. I was running late. Yeah, I couldn't find my keys, but I'm good. I'm here now.
You know, we're rolling.
All right, well, hi
I didn't need
everybody.
to say that. Yeah. But now I do. It's part of my life. Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah, the life of the broadcaster.
Air.
Take one of one.
Yep.
Is isn't Horace coming today?
Yeah, he's in makeup.
Huh.
He's like, he's got that fat.
Did he say what he was gonna wear?
He's prepping his mustache.
Oh,
But he should be here any minute. You might notice that I have not prepped my mustache. But if you look really closely, it's up. It's coming in. I'm
it
working
looks.
on it.
You know,
A special oil for the mustache
did
growth.
you? Are you? Do you have a mustache because you saw how Horace looks with his mustache?
Hmm. Well, I mean, you've seen his
I
mustache,
think your
right?
mustache looks nice and everything. We should let the viewer judge for themselves. I wonder if he's ready. Horace, you
Boris!
ready?
Yes. Yes.
Horace,
And
Oh,
we're
oh,
come in. Yeah, we're rolling.
like,
right there, right there. How's this?
no,
Yeah, lower.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, there we go. Right on screen. Yeah, let's let everybody look. Yeah, that's our friend. Yeah, Horace.
hi.
This is our friend.
he's our good friend, and he's here to talk about some fantasy art with us. And
Hey,
actually,
Sean. What's this fellow here?
it's just a drawing of a rat.
Oh, I like it.
Cute, right?
Some starter art.
That's true.
Yeah.
Um, so actually, Horace, a good friend of ours, he picked out the artist that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes. Boris Artzybasheff. He was a Ukrainian-born artist who worked in the U.S. after jumping ship, something like that.
Jumping ship from.
That's perhaps not literally.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Cool. Do you want to say why you picked him?
Oh,
Or-
Yeah.
well, I like your show, your program. I've been watching it regularly, and I thought, well, this is an image that stuck with me as a child. In a children's book I was reading, there was a poem, and it was illustrated by well, Artzybasheff. You'll see, is best known for a lot of really detailed painting and illustration work. But early on, he did some woodcuts, and this one, the one we're going to see, went with this poem, which I will now
You
read.
want to jump to the woodcut right now?
Ah, I don't know. Let's read the poem first.
No, why don't we pull up the woodcut and then people can experience the poem just as you did when you were a kid,
So,
right?
all right. Spooky, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. The airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. Down along the rocky shore, some make their home. They live on crispy pancakes of yellow tide foam. Some in the reeds of the black mountain lake, with frogs for their watchdogs, all the night awake. High on the hilltop, the old king sits. He's now so old and gray, he's nigh lost his wits. With a bridge of white mist, Columkill he crosses on his stately journeys from Sleeveleague to Ross's, or going up with music on cold starry nights to sup with the queen of the gay northern lights. They stole little Bridget for 7 years long. When she came down again, her friends were all gone. They took her lightly back between the night and morrow. They thought that she was fast asleep, but she was dead of sorrow. They've kept her ever since, deep within the lake, on a bed of flag leaves, watching till she wake. By the craggy hillside, through the mosses bare, they have planted thorn trees for pleasure here and there. Is any man so daring as to dig them up in spite? He will find their sharpest thorns in his bed at night. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we dare not go hunting for fear of little men. We folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. So as you
Wow.
can see, we have this fellow here with, well, with a thorny in his bed, and you can see the words a little bit different in that printing. I think he changed the wording of the poem at some point.
That's a weird poem.
That is a weird poem.
Very. It sounds very Scottish. The poet's actually Irish. William Allingham, mid 19th century, I think.
What did you think of it as a child?
Well, I'm not sure that I really got the poem. I didn't have a good sense for verse. And I don't remember it terribly well. Just a bit about the thorns and looking at how terrified this fellow is running from the thorn in his bed. I think now looking at it, the reason it's such a striking image is maybe because if you couldn't see what he was running from, you would just say, well, it must be something scary. Well, it's a stick in his bed, which isn't scary at all. That's not how it makes it more scary. The stick be scary, you wonder? And the poem suggests that just a little bit. Um, Leaves their thorn trees up, put thorns in his bed.
The fear of the ordinary.
Yeah,
The context makes it more terrifying, perhaps, than like an actual little goblin.
well, I agree. And they're not so much goblins. They're very Celtic fairies. Their behavior is a little bit mad. It doesn't lines up without understanding normal folks' behavior. They don't quite understand death, but they don't like it. Uh, no, I forgot the other example was.
Well, speaking of madness, there's a kind of natural, chaotic stuff going on in this image that in part is because of the perspective being sort of out of joint. Like if you look at
Agreed.
the position of like it's very clearly indicated what planes the floor, wall, ceiling, and back wall are, but they don't resolve with one another. It's irreconcilable.
No, it's almost isometric in places. An isometric perspective is this sort of false perspective where everything is gridded out on a perfect square so that you are seeing everything as a kind of cube, even though in real or sort of real life perspective, things do not appear as a perfect cube. They spread out towards you as they get closer and get narrower as they go back. But if you look at the rectangle of the carpet on the floor, especially, it's very clear that this is just a rectangle. It's not getting narrower as it goes away from you.
Whereas the painting on the wall is.
Yeah. So just everything's just a little off.
Yeah.
uh, in a way that's hard to pin down. And it's that tiltingness adds to the sense that something destabilizing and bad is happening. The man's kind of almost falling out of his bed as he runs away.
Point. The painting on the wall is another thing, maybe worth mentioning on its own, because it appears to be a picture of the same guy. Like he just took it.
A picture of him running away quickly with his arms.
Yes, and it has him and the cat doing the same thing, like in a classic Disney cartoon, someone and their animal companion express the same emotion to sort of double it for the audience, and the painting as well. And so they all sort of make sense. Everybody's running, but why? Why would he have that painting on his wall? Especially, he's so easily startled when he's in bed. Hmm.
Another interesting doubling here is if you look at the way the light around the lit up lamp is handled, which, hey, weird way to do this
Yeah.
because it seems to be creating a circle of darkness around itself rather than more light.
Yeah.
But cool idea. You can see that the same thing is happening to the man's hair. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much.
circle like this, so it's almost you could almost say like, oh, the light also got scared.
I think there's a lot of sophisticated compositional stuff going on, and a lot of things that don't quite resolve. Why is there such a sophisticated pattern on the rug? It's just sort of like that. It makes the whole thing a kind of pleasant puzzle, and gives a greater sense of mystery. Same with the little floral footboard on the bed. Why is it like that? The fact that they're running away from they're sort of running into the void, right? Makes it seem sort of like or almost like they're tumbling into nothing.
Yeah.
The man's outstretched arm, the cat's outstretched tail. Very.
Yeah.
I think it's like I mean, as some we've looked at a lot of scary images in this program so far, and as someone who's like interested in making scary images, I think it's cool that you can do something like this that doesn't have anything overtly horrifying in it and have it make an impression that Boris is stuck with you for like your whole life. You remember this weird little drawing.
One thing I like about this cat is the man is clearly scared, but the cat might just be doing what the human does as an actual cat does. It's looking back. It's why are we leaping like this? The cat's not scared of the stick because the cat can't read poetry. It's just going along with what the human does, but it still works. Also, what you said about them leaping into the void, there's an emptiness about this. There's such a small, specifically chosen
Yeah.
allotment of image of objects. There's the painting, the light, the bed, the rug. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's a very that's all the world consists of.
There's another illus or a cartoonist from this time, Abner Dean, who made these sort of weird existential gag panels. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, they similarly, I think in part because the illustration style is similar. Like the cat in this has an almost like Hanna-Barbera way of being cartooned, and the Abner Dean stuff is similar. But it's the figures that are cartooned in this way, navigating various kinds of existential troubles. Like sitting in the middle of a molten lake playing the harmonica or whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way the man's face is drawn also is very unique and also kind of alarming. It's kind of like the face of an owl.
You are both sympathizing with him being frightened, but also his face looks somewhat scary.
I agree. He's maybe scarier than whatever he's scared of in his own way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of I don't know. They're just like the shapes are handled in a really interesting way. The sort of like woodcut or etch style, but a lot of this seems to be done white over black rather than um the opposite. I don't know. It's wild, weird little drawing. Shall we look at the next piece?
By all
It's
means,
very good.
I think
Yeah,
that,
look at it.
well, I can hope that perhaps your insights, my friends, well, it will take
Ah.
away some of my ongoing nightmares. But
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe this will cause more for some people.
Yeah.
This is from a series of really large number of drawings that Artzybasheff did, which he called machinalia, which are these machines, mostly real machines, in great detail, turned strangely and disturbingly into humanoid figures, often, as in this case that I like, uh, interacting with objects or tools. This is some sort of drill press, I think, but also operating on themselves as tools. So you can see how there seem to be two creatures here. One in the lower half holding let's call that an anvil. It's probably not. And the other one in this very relaxed uh, gripping with its legs pose. It's both casual and very precise. Look at how it's
Oh.
relaxed on the pole with its legs, but it's operating. This was my point. On its own head, it's turning that lever or wheel with its own hand, which is part of itself. Imagine if you had to, move your feet by lifting them with your hands.
So he did a lot of pieces kind of on this theme of
Yes, yes.
anthropomorphized or anthro. Hey, polar.
Anthropomorphized.
Yeah.
Is you always want to put one more syllable in that
Yeah.
word, but
Where would it go?
anthropomorphized.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's too many though, right?
emphasized. It would mean the same thing. It's just not what people say.
Okay, well, anyway, he did a bunch of these
Yeah.
machines that are people.
Very many.
It makes me. So here's what I'm just wondering about this. Is this like somebody thinking about? I don't know. Is this thinking about like, well, industrialization is replacing the human worker, and that's kind of what these are responding to
Is
at the
that
time?
the historical moment for these?
This is 1950s. It was a time of very, very super positive, looking toward the future. Look at all the marvelous things we can do with our new machines. So I don't really see much negativity in them. Although I think you can read them that way, but they, they certainly are unnerving on first glance too. So I
Yeah.
don't really know where to place it.
Have to say that there is at least, if not negativity, there's at least a certain amount of, I don't know, this certain amount of concern or.
There's some of the uncanny. There's a natural kind of category confusion. There's some of
Very much.
like the biomechanical. This is like you know uh Lil Li apostrophe L H.R. Giger a little bit, you know. Um,
Sure.
and it would I don't think there's a way to intermingle the physical body and the mechanical without raising that kind of dread, because even though these figures look cheerful, they're physically bound to the work they do and they do the same thing forever. If you're the drill press guy, all you do is turn that
Ah,
crank, you know?
well, if I might ask, Lord, how would you characterize this in relation to, say, RoboCop, who is also a similar boundary crossing creature, but doesn't seem to, if I recall, lean heavily on that sort of uncanniness.
There is some uncanny stuff in
Uh,
RoboCop.
That's
so,
my cop.
no, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen
Either.
RoboCop?
I
You Judge RoboCop?
that is what's
Cop.
perhaps the future episode could be viewing.
The RoboCop episode. Well, it's
Is
Paul Verhoeven, so it's the exact same thing as like Starship Troopers and stuff like that, where he made a fairly brutal satire of American culture, and everyone said, "This is unironically great. I don't see anything wrong with this. A robot who's a cop, this is the best."
yeah, so that's similar to what's going on in this image. You know, you can look at it superficially and say like, wow, the wonder of the cheerful machines, but actually it's about something much darker.
That's that he doesn't need to. We don't need to settle on one, and I think there is an element of look at human possibility. Look at what we can do with technology.
Yeah.
This could be us. Well, they do tend to look, yeah. Well, I don't know.
Cops afraid that RoboCop will replace them.
We cannot turn this into a RoboCop episode.
Okay, bonus episode.
Bonus episode. Ask Abelard whatever you want about RoboCop, and he will try to remember.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Someday.
Me neither.
They are cheerful.
Yeah.
You could make them not cheerful. You could certainly try to make this more dreadful than it is. And it has a kind of like WPA, like the way that the like that hand is drawn,
The heroic photographs of working men,
yeah.
you know, like interacting with huge pieces of steel and being strong. Like this is just that only. It's just
Strangely reminiscent in some ways of Soviet realism.
yes.
Yeah.
That like if it went down a different path. Uh, I was going to say they don't all quite seem so cheerful, and I believe there was another one,
Since I go get
Joe, that you wanted to
Yeah.
pull up that I think is maybe a good. I think
get over there.
get some of the.
Come here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go. Look at
Yeah.
that industrial wash
Yeah.
green, like a pair of jeans from the 2000s.
It's so good. So I can personally vouch because I used to go hang out by the steel foundry down on Goose Island. Um, and if you went there late at night, they would open up the big doors and you could watch them pour steel.
Do they really have faces like this?
Well, they don't. They look. Everything else is exactly the same. The
Yeah.
quality of light, the sense of scale, the here's what this captures that like just a photograph of a steel foundry interior what does not really capture is that you peer in the doorway and the heat hits you and you are looking at a scene of scale that you like it doesn't make sense how big this stuff is. The cauldrons are so big. The stuff pouring into the cauldrons are so big. The big hands, like hooks that are coming down from the top of the image, that's they have those. They're not hands, they're just hooks. But they rumble across the whole warehouse slowly carrying a cauldron of molten steel, the whole building shakes. It's
Wow.
crazy. And I think this image, like, I think he like went to one of these places and saw it happening because this image really captures the darkness and light because all the
Yeah.
light in there, of course, is just coming off of the molten steel. That's this sense of like large, objects that are doing things, and like in the real world the humans are powering them. The humans are so small and they're like, kind of
How
standing
how
far
big
away.
how big is this perhaps?
Um, a human, and if there was a human person, it would come up like maybe a third of the way up that cauldron, at best.
Oh,
Very very small.
uh,
These things are huge. A sock, of
Perhaps
course, much even smaller than that.
I suppose one could have a small steel foundry. It wouldn't be efficient, but you could have a little one for your laundry room with a couple of little buckets,
Um,
molten metal.
I mean,
is that true?
is that how you make a
Is
sword
that?
in the olden days?
No, they
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay. Yes. Well, they certainly didn't have ceiling height vats of liquid metal in the early
Yeah.
bright Iron Age.
Yeah.
You
They
just
didn't have
heat the
that easily.
steel billet until it's soft and then you hammer it on an anvil. That's why you have a
If
hammer.
you went to one of these places, I bet you could make world's biggest sword.
Hmm.
A sword that
I wonder
not
what the world's
even the
biggest
guy
sword
from that
is.
comic book could use.
Yeah. I don't really like to think about a sword that's so big that Guts couldn't lift it.
Yeah, that's probably wise.
Yeah.
We should
Oh,
probably not go there.
Yeah. Uh, you would think the molten metal would be coming out of their mouth, but instead it's coming out of their nose.
Ooh, good, good, good.
over their nose, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
These guys don't look as happy as the last ones.
not
I
at all.
actually, in a way, it makes me view this picture more positively because when somebody's smiling, it's like, are you trying to deceive me with that smile? But when you look nonplussed, then I assume it's like, yeah, that's a normal way to feel. It's not like they're smiling for a camera, they're just doing their little job.
Yeah.
Huh. I imagine, even in the most workers' paradise steel factories, that lugging large amounts of liquid metal around is still going to be a task that you're not smiling all the way through. Uh, Many kinds of work, even when we enjoy them, can be tedious in their moment to moment operations.
Yeah, I think it's just really dangerous and
Too.
hard, comfortable work. Uh, and I think that this image, it captures the kind of, I don't know, the way that it just it's all, everything's on tracks. Like perspective wise, in this one, you can see the perspective lines that are formed by these, just the tracks that the hooks are running on, and there's some train tracks or something in the bottom, which is also something you find in a steel foundry, because of course you have to tug these vats around on something, little train tracks. uh and the way it just turns into darkness in the back, that's so good, really good.
Yep.
Pretty I don't know, it's weird stuff. Like I can't think of anything else that looks like this.
I think the role of the light in this is amazing.
Hmm.
I think this is a beautiful, just with respect to how you're rendering light and shadow, I think this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And like sense of atmosphere, sense of space, the way that the rails disappear into the background and get darker and darker, you can just feel all of that space hanging there.
Much more realistic space proportion than in the previous one.
Yeah.
Yeah, by a lot.
Does this have a relationship to all of those cartoon shorts they used to do, where somebody get caught in a factory assembly line, and I don't know, giant robot hands would grab them
I'm not
and eat them like
sure I
bread
know
or
this.
whatever.
Um,
Play that same song. The You're in a Factory song. It's like, the
Donald Duck being rolled through gears.
yeah, I
Yeah.
always think
Yeah, yeah.
those.
I think it's their spirits of the same technology obsessed 1950s forward looking. Uh, how do we deal with this strange new world that's overtaking us?
Hmm.
But I don't know if there's any direct connection.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just like a natural
Artzybasheff was a very visible artist in the mid-century. He did a lot of this work, a lot of magazine work, a lot of advertising work. We'll see some
Oh, yeah.
a lot of covers of Time magazine. We've left it out because
Oh.
they're not particularly fantastical, but possibly some of the best known caricatures you've seen of 1940s, 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s political figures from and popular culture figures from Hitler to Louis Armstrong could be uh, by Artzybasheff.
Well, let's look at one of his ads because I think
Yeah.
this is an interesting thing to talk about.
Oh, Abelard? I think. Ah, here we go.
There you go. Oh, yeah, it's
Yes.
I can. I mean, of course, I learned to work this program. It was really hard.
What is this an ad for? Rotational symmetry?
Nice joke. Apparently this is an ad for a tool, and actually, I'm gonna go pull up the ad right now
Okay.
because
Let's get a little context.
Let's get a little.
I can't tell what the
context.
hell is going on right
Yeah, it's distressing. But
Okay.
imagine it's 1950 and you're paging through the National Geographic, thinking about taking all of your 12 children and putting them in a car and driving across the landscape.
Yeah.
And you turn the page and you see this. And you're like, what is this? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to buy? Is this gonna, if I'm a man, do I have to buy this?
And it's now
Important rules for that sort of thing in those days.
No.
what I'm looking at here is a very lengthy pitch that involves going to the planet Venus.
Yes.
And it's not easy to tell if we're meant to believe. Like, for a second, I thought this was a, like, mock ad to run in a sci-fi magazine as though there were already people from Venus. But I think it's just a long conceit intended to sell you on the functionality of some kind of hand tool.
It makes me wonder when the first proper parody ads arose. Before Adbusters, before the first time that advertising
Mad
became
Magazine,
common
right?
enough for people to say, "Oh, this is stupid. Let's make fun of it." Mad Magazine started in 1950 as well, so I feel like
Do you
probably
think
before that.
Adbusters came out before that or not?
I feel like the sort of thing Adbusters was doing started before.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were some parody ads. I feel like I might have even seen one.
Like in an old issue of Punch from like 1880 or
Oh, very much. Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Well, I'd just like to say here that I believe advertising should be illegal, but
Yep.
a lot of artists and
How do you inform people of things to purchase?
well, they just gotta talk to their friends.
Yeah,
And
you
I
gotta make, hey, if people aren't inclined to tell one another about your product,
too
you
bad.
gotta make a better product.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
But what if the magazine is telling its friends, subscribers,
Look,
about
you can't find a workaround. I make the rule. The rule is ads are illegal.
well,
Yeah,
Sorry.
this isn't a
when we're
Socratic
all
method
under
type
Joe's
situation.
dictatorship, there will be no more ads.
Yeah.
You guys
And you can
are
only
you guys are gonna love it. I promise. I have
That'll be
lots of
great.
other equally incredible ideas.
not
It's
even
so good.
marvelous. We should mention before we ban ads altogether that this one is set on the planet Venus.
Yes.
That's apparently where circular people like this, the heart motif. It just occurred to me now that you can see in the windows.
Yeah.
And could we go back to the full size version, maybe?
But hang on, just a second. I want to say something first, which is I have a couple more thoughts before we move on. One is that I believe that although ads are gross, many interesting artists made much of their living via producing ads.
Yeah.
Many interesting artists, in fact, and many of these artists have used the they've used the sort of format of the ad to maybe say things that the purchasers of the ad did not really intend to be a part of their advertisement. Say the famous shirt collar guy.
Yeah.
What's his name?
J.C. Leyendecker?
Yeah, Leyendecker. Our most famous illustrator of ads, Leyendecker, who
Yeah.
ostensibly his advertisements were about buying a nice shirt collar. In reality, they were about the beauty of a human man.
Yeah.
And he felt very strongly about that, as you can see in many of his beautifully painted human men.
We'll do a Lion Decker.
Yeah,
We're gonna do a Lion Decker
yeah, don't
episode.
worry, we
Hold
got a
tight.
big plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that what happened when he got hired to do this ad, he was like, "What is this thing? Some kind of tool that makes different tools or whatever. I don't know. What am I interested in right now?"
Hand
I
tool that uses other tools.
Yeah, well, like I guess my
Arts.
guess is that Artzybasheff at this point had seen a bunch of interesting art from like India or Southeast Asia, the stuff where you have like multiple arms and sinuous forms, and he was looking at a lot of that, and he was like, "Oh, I'll do that. I'll do this surreal, uh, actually quite distressing thing for this tool." That kind of ties it together with the fact that the tool you can use it in many different ways. And then he sent that to the guys who write the ad copy, and they were like, "Oh my god,
Help.
okay, what if they're on Venus?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?"
He's used it, I think, a couple of other occasions. So these are Venusian people who are Artzybasheff. They have, if you can see, and we zoom in, their eyes go. It's not just three eyes. You can just see both the woman and the baby. You can see another nose, another eyelash around the edge. So it's eyes all the way around. Classic folder style.
And plenty of arms.
Many arms.
This is why I think specifically you would point. Well, hang on. I'm trying to picture in like a Southeast Asian sculpture right now. Is it the case that the multiple arms start at the torso?
You mean on like
Or
Vishnu?
yeah, exactly.
Thing?
Yeah.
So I think that's fine, but this is not an area that I know a lot about at all.
Yeah.
But another possibility I discussed earlier, but I suppose the reference is maybe unlikely, but there was a period in the Middle Ages when Christians trying to convert pagans tried to make their gods more interesting, and they show the Trinity as a guy with three faces that kind of blur into each other just like this. The YouTube channel Hashalega has a whole video on these. It's really great, and it kind of looks like this. These disturbing overlapping faces. Um,
There's sort of thing like, oh, there's three eyes now. Do you remember like just a couple of years ago where if you scrolled down too far on a website and you got to the weird ads, there would be like, an old man with an extra eye that was way too big to
Yeah.
catch your attention and make
Doctors
you.
say do not do this under any circumstances.
Yeah,
Red circle around the
one
guy's
weird
neck. Yeah.
this is maybe, this is kind of operating on the same principle a little bit.
Yeah.
I do find this image, like everything by this guy that we've looked at, there's a surface level where it's kind of, it's just like weird and fun, but I don't know, I find them really distressing to look at. This sort of combination of the
Yeah, I like it.
cartoony, cheerful polishedness with
Yeah.
the total rejection of, I don't know, it's just like,
This looks like specifically Pim and Francie era Al Columbia as
yeah.
well. I think that there is a lot of stuff about this image that is very beautiful. In particular, the weird interjection of the house, like the weird spot it sits in the image, and all of the red it pops onto that side of the uh the image, and then the way the trees carve out this little piece of space for the woman in the middle, I think is beautiful. The way every single like drawn painted frond on every leaf and every curve of every branch creates both this twisting like vortex sort of motion, and also leads you back to the like woman in the middle. I think that's so interesting. I think there's a weird kind of complexity where the faces and upper bodies are rotationally symmetrical, but the lower bodies are fixed and familiar. And so they have these discernible poses, like the woman is standing almost in a very coquettish kind of contrapposto way.
That's like a pinup pose.
Yeah.
Style of time. Am I mistaken, or does the door frame have hinges but no door?
Yes.
Yeah, perhaps they're just building it though. Perhaps of course, they need tools. Their house isn't
Yeah.
finished. There's no glass in the windows.
There's no call for doors on Venus.
Apparently.
Oh, that's why the reason he's holding a bunch of the little devices. If everybody
It's
already
toast.
saw that, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Because it's small, brown, and nondescript.
Yeah.
He's using the device to manipulate many different kinds of material. So you could be this lame husband
Yeah. But
with his stupid bow ties.
and he can provide for the baby, he can make a sculpture for his wife, and he can fix the door or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that's good enough.
Ordinarily, he would have to use just one hand to do each of these, perhaps two
Yeah.
hands, and he would run out because even though they go all the way around, they're finite. So a tool perhaps doubles the effectiveness of each hand.
It's interesting to defend myself here and to tie it into a bigger point. It's interesting that that guy is not the focal point of the image, and it's really easy to ignore what he's doing,
Yes.
right? This is not a painting that's bent on displaying this multi-tool in a flattering light. It's about some other stuff.
It's totally true.
It's to me, it seems to be about the woman, which presumably, I don't know where this was published, but presumably inspires the 1950s male reader to think, oh, with this tool, I could have such a beautiful wife, so framed in such a lovely way by
Yeah.
contrasting trees and the walls of the house I'm building.
They were so repressed in the 50s. They were so down bad that all you have to show them is the upper thigh of a woman that can't possibly exist, and they would be calling the multi-tool company as fast as they could.
Well, it's the baby that's like pulling her skirt aside like a theater person.
Also didn't notice that. Man, what's going on there?
Beyond the behavior of babies.
Babies do that.
It's true. Usually the what you would expect to see in an image like this would be the man acting in a heroic way,
Yeah.
doing all the building, but instead he has crouched down on the ground in like the most subservient posture.
Yeah.
And the baby is acting more like closely with the wife than he is. I wonder if this is sort of the outlook of an artist who's like, you might think that being an illustrator is a glamorous job where, I get feted by important, beautiful people at all times. But actually, what I mostly do is I kind of hunch over
Yeah.
in a little dark corner while other people have a nice time out in nature.
So perhaps then we should suppose that this man in the doorway used this tool that he purchased to create, like an illustrator, but in 3D, the woman who's posed there so perfectly. I mean, if your tool wins you the woman, then perhaps a tool is a tool for life creation, figuratively,
Oh.
approximately.
Oh, the old Pygmalion.
Yes. Ah, yes.
Because he is drawing a little Venusian figure with a like cleft thighs in his little sculpture. And then if you look way over on the left side, the tree on the left is also a little Venusian tree with cleft thighs,
Yeah.
right?
The trees also have some very romantically entwined vines
Oh, that's a good point.
climbing things. There's a Venus motif, the hearts in the window I meant to mention, and the heart-shaped flowers on the tree.
Yeah, basically the fact that this drawing is pretty horny is weird.
Yeah.
as hell.
Well, they were very horny in those days. They
It's
didn't have as many outlets.
it's both like that, and it's so contemptuous of the guy using the product. You can't tell me you would want to be like that guy.
Clown shoes.
Yeah, look at his little pants that are gathered into little cuffs. Look at his stupid bow tie suspender arrangement. What a dweeb.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a pass on this multi-tool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Horst, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Well, I think, well, as always, my friends, you've been quite illuminating about these artworks.
You too,
And,
Boris.
I'm always glad to spend some time with you and chat about fun stuff.
Yeah, thanks for dropping by.
You should
And
come back again.
bye to everyone at home.
Yeah. Hey, do you know our sign off?
It was keep on Keep
But
on.
I'm going to say, until next time.
All right.
No, you say it.
Oh, I see it.
If we say it together, it sounds weird.
Keep on dreaming. Is that it?
Perfect. Good job. Bye, everybody. Bye, Horace. Bye.
It?